Welcome to episode 4 of Aggie Chats. My name is Ashley Salem.
And my name is Kayla Wolf. And be sure to watch our last episode featuring nutritionist Rachel Mack on student-athlete nutrition.
And today we have Sydney Burns and Evan Turner from the women's basketball team. Thank you for coming. We're so happy to have you guys. Please tell us about your guys' journeys to get to Davis and being part of the team.
Yeah, you want to start?
I can start. Yeah. Thank you for having us. I'm Sydney. I'm a third year at Davis now, so this has been I just finished my third season playing for UC Davis. I think my process of getting to school here is a lot of basketball growing up. I started playing against my brother. He's older, so any sport he did, I did, and basketball was just my favorite. So just stuck with it, loved basketball the most, and then played club and high school basketball and got recruited to come here, and I've been here ever since. I've stayed loyal to UC Davis.
Yeah. I'm Evan. I'm a fifth year. I just finished my last collegiate season ever. So that's kind of bittersweet, but isn't sweet this spring quarter. If I can say that now. No, but my journey to basketball is kind of similar to Sid's. Like, I have two older brothers, and being the youngest, you kind of follow in your older siblings' footsteps. And I was around basketball since the time I could walk. I was just in a gym, just sitting in a corner watching him play, and then it stuck at everything else. And then, like, if you ask, like, any of my cousins or anything, like, there was times where it'd just be the middle of something, like, oh, let's go hang out. I'm like, I have practice, I have a workout, I have this, I have that. But, I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world to, like, just be able to get this experience with different teammates and friends and sisters, just to get this experience here. I mean, kind of same as Sid. Like, obviously, last season here at Davis, been here the entire time. Wouldn't trade it for a world. Like, people asking if I can go back and transfer in a year, like, especially after some of my, like, better seasons. I'm like, no, like, I'm here, like, through and through. Like, our coach likes to say Aggie pride, and I think I start to bleed that a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Love the loyalty and the Aggie pride spirit that you guys both embody. We'd really like to focus on this episode of women's media sports coverage. And so we wanted to ask you both, do you feel that there's an imbalance between men's and women's coverage in sports? And how has that changed for women's sports, specifically basketball, since your time in college?
Yeah. I say, like, there's, like a big imbalance, but it's, like, obviously gotten a lot smaller over, like, I want to say the past 2-3 years. Probably since COVID, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, I think just social media just became that even more, like, used, like, form of, like, media. And, like, for I just think there is an imbalance just because, like, genders in general, like, that's just a social construct that we live in, but it's gotten a lot smaller over the years since COVID. I think just with the way that the game has grown and the way that we're able to use social media to our benefit. Like, you see, like, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and all these people, like, getting, like, these big announcers. Even here, like, smaller, bigger, whatever, it's just been growing the game and, like, our coverage to the point where, like, it's the most, like, this past tournament was, like, the most watched game, like, in history. Like, that's just, like, unbeatable numbers right there.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's been definitely a cool like uptick in viewership for women's sports since coming to school, since coming to college. I feel like it really started with, like, the national women's soccer team, like, really drew a lot of attention to, like, the success they had, but the, like, inequality that they were getting through pay especially. But I think they also used a lot of, like, the evidence of, like, their people are as interested as watching their games as their counterpart, like the men's counterpart. I feel like that started it, and I also think that, like, the whole, like, NIL, name, image, and likeness deal has made a huge impact on all of college athletics, but I think especially with women's basketball, like, Caitlin Clark has 3 commercials during her championship game where, like, she plays and then it cuts to a commercial break and she's there again. And so I think it's really cool that there's just been this opportunity for college athletes, and that the women's basketball players have really capitalized on it as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like media coverage has also been focusing on that imbalance and trying to fix that as well. Have you guys been able to see improvements throughout being here at Davis?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, especially being, like, so old, like, you kind of see, like, that 2019 where it's like, well, like, we don't even know what social media is. Like, I did, but, you know, the program didn't, and it was kind of weird just seeing that. Just like, okay, like, we're doing, like I took my when I committed here, I took photos, like, on, like, a camera phone. Like, that was, like, I was like, you guys don't have, like, a a camera or anything. So I said definitely grown a lot to where now like recruits in general are feeling like the experience like that we get to have of like a true media day and stuff like that. I mean, it can still like have a lot of more improvement. Like if you look at any of our women's pages here at Davis and our men's pages, like you can see like where they get more videos, they have more content and different things like that. Just more like, especially when it comes to like student like trying to get students to come, you can see like that this like that media push out like come to the men's games. But like it's definitely grown a lot. Like of course my expectation is for it to be like equal like today right now, but like it has grown a lot since like my first year here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think like my freshman year we had one guy that worked with like all of athletics to like run the pages and stuff, and
Yeah.
he was awesome. He did an amazing job at it. But now there's like a whole team and there's like full people that are like fully on staff for this, and so I think, which is really smart because I think that's what like a lot of like high schoolers are looking for while they're like being recruited is like how is this team being perceived online. So I think there's definitely been an advancement in the past 3 years I've been here.
That's awesome.
There's been like a lot of improvements in the resources in general at Davis too. Like, I mean, we have the EFAC now, we have like the weight room and all these fun new snacks, and the media team has definitely gotten better too, which is super cool to see. You guys have already talked a lot about the things that have kind of sparked the surge of women's basketball. What do you think made this past tournament different than the last one?
I think just like there being key like focal players and focal teams that were like focused on in the media. I think like Caitlin Clark is a really big name that grew a lot from last year's tournament. But not only that, like South Carolina as a whole team, like having an undefeated season and being like very well established in women's basketball. I think like Paige Beckers, Haley Van Lith, LSU, like there's just so many names that were like finally heard about in last year's tournament, but like throughout the whole process of like this whole season there seemed to be more like viewership and more attention to those people. And so like in the culmination of the season ending, people just seemed like everyone wanted to see how it would end, and people that like I never knew enjoyed basketball would talk to me about like, I'm so excited, I want Iowa to win, or like I like more than just like for their bracket to win, but like to be invested in it and interested. So I think like it wasn't only this year, but it really started a lot of like last year as well, and just has grown.
Yeah, I think last year also like you seen like Virginia, like I forgot her name, the girl was on Virginia that
Georgia Moore.
Yeah, like there's just like a highlight of like all the skills and talents that these girls have, and like especially when you're playing against like the bigger teams like the Pac-12s and like all those type teams, like, and you do really well against them. I think it highlights like that team. Like so if you're playing against the Stanford and like even like the Virginia team played Iowa last year, right? Like, who did they play?
So.
They played
Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Played Ohio State. They
got far.
Yeah, they got
really
Final
far.
Four. Yeah.
But like as you're like getting further, like I can honestly say I've never thought of Virginia Tech till last year, and then this year like you're following this like one girl in Virginia Tech because she killed it last year, and like all these girls like from like that Sydney mentioned, like you're seeing all their skills just grow year after year. Like Caitlin was beyond good the day she stepped on her campus, but then like you're watching her break record after record and do this that and the other, and you're just like you have to follow along. I think the fact that you see like the growth in skills and talent and like the hunger that like women's sports in general have, like you just have to follow it. Like you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna follow her journey. Like she's killing it. You can see the drive that she has, and it's like I want to drive with her. I want to be in the car. Like so I think that's kind of it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like with social media and like TikTok and videos and reels and whatnot, you're also able to see them behind the scenes and see their emotions a little bit. So you get to know them not only as players and see their skills, but also as people. So you feel like you have a bit more of a connection with them. On social media, do you think that has helped or stunted the public opinion of different teams? And how do you think that has helped or hurt performances of teams?
That's a good one. I feel like it's like that narrative of like all press is good press, but like I think it's a little harder for women's sports, especially like when you have like different teams and stuff, like when they have this like narrative portrayed about them, like, and sometimes it's negative and you like have to look at the whole team, the individuals on that team and how it affects them. So it's not really all press is good press because it's like hurtful at times, like when you hear the narrative that like LSU gets, and it's the same passion that some other team has. It just happens to be a team that's predominantly African American and different things like that. But like social media has been like super impactful. I think with women, once they have like, once you see like that hunger and drive, like, and it's like too much. It's like there's never too much for a competitor at the end of the day. When it's too much, like, oh, she's aggressive, she's doing this, she's doing that. It's like they're playing the same way as like on the men's side they would, or she's playing the same way that this other girl is. Like, what's the difference? So I think that's like a whole, that can get into a whole deeper conversation on its own. But like, I think social media's been like, you can't take it away. Like, it's a big part of our sports and of our sport, especially women's basketball. Like, when you add in the WNBA and stuff, like, without it, like, I don't think the game would be at where it's at now. Even as talented as those girls are, like, those are the best in the world. But then, like, without social media, it's kind of like, I don't think would have took off the way it did these past couple of years.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think, like, there's just, like, a lot of, like, female, like, women's basketball players that have had, like, crazy records. Like, Kelsey Plum had the record before Caitlin Clark broke it, and she held that for a really long time. But, like, I think only the girls basketball players that grew up watching Kelsey Plum know that name, sadly, because she's a great player. But, and then there's also, like, when you go back to, like, Super Diana Taurasi, like, you go back to the, like, dynasty of UConn or the dynasty of, like, Tennessee, like, only the people that are, like, in the sport really know those facts. And I think due to, like, social media and, like, the media attention that, like, I mean, Caitlin Clark is a different player than the other players that I mentioned, but she definitely has gotten a lot more attention than those other players while they're exceptional too. And I think about, like, Sabrina Ionescu, who's, like, on the cusp of, like, this time of, like, social media and, like, was graduated a year before or two before, like, the NAL deal came to be. Like, I think she broke so many records and everything too. Like, she definitely could have had that platform, but she didn't because, like, just social media was not in the same place as it is right now.
Yeah, totally.
You guys have already kind of touched on it, but what are some of the biggest challenges that you believe female collegiate athletes face in the media?
I feel like I said earlier, kind of just like that competitive nature.
Yeah.
Like, you can see it's like night and day. Like, if like you get pushed or get an annual or something, or whatever sport, whatever it is to cause you to have emotion in your sport, like, and you're just like passionate about it, like, you get like it's not always like, oh my gosh, she's so passionate. It's like, oh my goodness, is she good? What is she on? Is she okay?
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of it. And like, you can see it like amongst like especially when you're comparing just like broadly from men's to women. Like, if a guy did that, like, if he's like screaming like at a ref or just screaming at some other player, it's like, he's him. Like, it's like all these positive stuff. And you're like,
hello,
bro, hi. Like, it's the same reaction. What are you talking about? So I think that's kind of like the main thing that I would say, like, is kind of like a struggle, because you have to like control yourself, like, even to the point where like you have your coaches being like, we need to have composure and all stuff. I'm like, she just socked me in my face, what you mean composure? Like, or like, I'm like, my teammate's doing good, I want to hype her up, and like, you're just like, no, settle down, like, you can't get too hyped. I'm like, okay, so what's the right amount of hype? But like, I feel like that's like the biggest struggle. That's the biggest struggle that like I think touches a nerve for me specifically.
Yeah, I think you also talked about, like, last year, the championship game between Iowa and LSU, how that was like a really big, like, that was like not only the differences in like what we expect, how people express their emotions, like, from between men and women, but like also like racial bias towards like who's allowed to express emotion, who's allowed to like be competitive in this way. And so I think that was like really eye-opening to see, like, brought a lot of like conversation around the fact of like how do we really perceive female athletes, and like what are we gonna confine them to, and how can we let them be competitors, like, no matter what team they belong on, no matter what race they are.
Which sucks, because beyond the media, these are all like our friends. Why wouldn't we want to have fun with them? Why wouldn't we be passionate about something that we've put years of time and dedication into? Which sucks. It's really unfortunate that we have to be portrayed as a certain way when there's a camera on us. But
yeah. I feel like there's definitely a set of expectations that the public has for women athletes specifically. You know, not only the way you act, but the way you look, the way you dress, the way you present yourself, you know, in and out of the court ring, wherever you may be performing. So that's, definitely some improvement that has to be done in the future. On that note, Wasserman did a study in October 2023 saying in the U.S., women's sports comprise roughly half of the total competitors played across collegiate, professional, and national sports events, while only receiving 15% of all of the coverage. What things must change in order for media attention to improve for women?
That's shocking.
Yeah. The stats got me too.
That one hurts.
Taken aback.
Yeah.
That's hurt. 50%, then the drop down to 15 is crazy.
Yeah. What things must change, or what actions can people in the media take to improve this coverage for women?
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to attack it from like a media angle, just like not being from there. But I think overall, if you have a lot more, like, I think LeBron like tweeting during the final game about Tessa Johnson, like some freshman at South Carolina, she killed it. And she's not just some freshman, she killed it in the game, especially her being a freshman. But him tweeting that, I think when you have different like supporters that are like celebrities and bigger names, like that automatically like causes the media to start following it, because like, well, LeBron's talking about this, what is LeBron talking about, let me watch this, let me talk about, oh my gosh, this happened. And I think that'll overall just like make the media just like forcibly come here. I think all of us using our own platforms to like hype up different women in sports, like whether like I don't really watch soccer, but I could get better at it, you know, like, and I might be like some like random person that goes to UC Davis or just in American Journal, but like whoever like's following me sees that. I think it's just like a kind of chain reaction type thing until it's to the point where it's just like, we're here, like you're gonna see it now, like period, point blank.
Yeah, I think that like recognition and validation is like really key. And like at the level, I know there was like that not movement, but it was like a common thing that a lot of celebrities were wearing WNBA sweatshirts in like 2020 or something. Yeah, and like there were like NBA players wearing the sweatshirts, and that became a fad, or that became like another way to draw attention to the WNBA. And like also, like Steph Curry or LeBron tweeting about these girls playing is like just like adds to the validation of like, these girls are really good at what they do. And I think like my dad like loves reading, and he sent me an article, or like gave it to me when I was in high school, about Sabrina Ionescu, and it was talking about like how the all the stuff that's bought like with her name and in college, and all the viewership that went up at Oregon for her was like, a lot came from people recognizing, like a lot came from men recognizing like, if I played her one-on-one, she would beat me, like she would be better than me. And I think that like that sort of validation and recognition, like at the personal level of like, this athlete is so much better than me at what I do, and I enjoy watching them because I can't do that. And then at the level of like from celebrities being like, I appreciate this person, I know the work that they put in, and it deserves to be recognized.
For sure.
Do you guys think that nowadays women's sports, both collegiate and professional, have as much visibility and media coverage as men's sports now that it's kind of been growing? Or do you think there's still work to do? Do you think that it's getting better?
Work to do and it's getting better?
Yeah.
I think it's improving. I think like especially steps forward in basketball, but I mean like equestrian and water polo, like have there been as many improvements in that as well? Like I think there's been like strides in certain aspects of it, but not as a whole, like universal of women's sports, which is frustrating.
Definitely. I feel like there are always things that you can do to make yourself better and to improve on things, you know, whether it's at the collegiate or conference or even national level, professional level. There's a lot of work to be done for sure. Thank you guys for being here. Just to wrap things up, just reflecting on your whole career in women's sports and basketball, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self that wanted to pursue a career in women's basketball?
You have something? I want to think. I want to really give myself a good piece of information.
I feel like I never get used to answering this question. I like think of something new every time. I think like to not be timid, like to not be worried about competing. I think our coach here talked to me my freshman year, I think, about like there being a difference between working hard and competing. And I think like growing up, I like valued my work ethic and continued to work hard, but there's like an elevated level to your improvement once you're competing. And so I wish I'm a pretty competitive person, Evan can kind of attest to, but I think I was a little timid of actually like showing that like all the time. And so I wish I could have been more confident in how competitive I am.
These last 2 years, I'd say it was up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You definitely did it for
Right.
sure.
I
I
didn't-
give you props.
I didn't want to make the little boys cry during recess.
Yeah, 'cause
when
they
I was
don't have
jumping
any
on
friends.
them,
They don't have any
Right,
friends.
that was the
This
problem.
girl is beating me, and you're like, oh my gosh, no friends.
Right, exactly. I
Okay.
wanted friends and to be good at
It's,
basketball.
you
so.
can't do both when you're a kid. You can do both when you're a kid.
Yes. If
Change
you listen to our advice.
Change the narrative now. Change it now. But yeah, if I had to give myself a piece of advice, it would be to just like go a step further in everything that I do. I think I went pretty far, but at times it got like kind of like to Sid's point where it's like you don't want to like intimidate other people, and like you have to kind of dim your light at times, and like I kind of wish like that I was just like 110% bright always. Like I never like I'm not really one to shy away, but at times like, you know, it's kind of just like, let me just turn down a little bit. But it's like, no, turn up. If I had to tell myself anything, turn up, be you 110% of the time. I love you. I hope
Baby
you watch
M.
this. Baby M, I love you, man.
I love that so much. Well, thank you guys for such the great advice and insights on everything. We hope you like this episode and stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.